is for me to bring you all the things that I learn and all the people that I meet onto this platform so that we can shorten the learning curve, right? So we share stories and we learn from each other and we grow, and today is like, get ready for exponential growth today, because today I have with me, gosh, I want to call him a friend because he is a friend, but he's like so much bigger than I can really introduce. But today I have with me Winn Claybaugh, and if you guys don't know Winn Claybaugh, you will know him after today. He is a philanthropist, he is a business owner, he is a mover and a shaker when it comes to making the world a better place. And even if you don't think you know who Winn Claybaugh is, when we have this conversation, you'll know that he's touched many of the places that you care and love about. So I want to welcome to you, Winn Claybaugh, here on Navigating Life on Amazon Live today. Welcome, Winn.
Thank you, Michelle, to be a part of this. Truly is an honor. I don't take this time for granted that you would ask me, that you feel that I have a story to tell. And I think you just said something about storytelling, and I truly believe that the best teachers and leaders and mentors are storytellers. So that's all we're doing, is just telling our stories, and that just so happens to make a difference for other people.
Well, I know, I said to you earlier, thank you so much for being here. And you said, oh, this is easy. Well, it's easy because you are such a good storyteller. But I know, or I kind of know what your schedule's like. So that's the trick, is how do we clone Winn and get him in all the places to tell his stories. So I want to just recognize that we've got Rosalinda in the chat today. Rosalinda is such a big supporter of ours. Rosalinda, get ready. She says, happy, wonderful Wednesday. Get ready, because today is going to be really awesome. And she's saying, welcome, Winn. How's your day going? Winn, tell us, how's your day going?
Amazing. Oh yeah, I've been up since 4 a.m. because I have a 9-year-old daughter. So if we're gonna get the day going the right way, I gotta be up at least a couple of hours before she gets up. Because once she's up, then it's all about her. And I have to make it all about me before I can then make it all about her. So already I've been to the gym. I've had coffee. I've had a protein drink. You do not want to get me any more caffeine. So
right.
I'm good to go.
Tapped out for the day. Well, when I met you, I don't know if you even know this, but I was working for Vidal Sassoon, and I was working in the office, and you had come in as a speaker. And they said, kind of as part of the training or the indoctrination, you have to go, sit in on the speaker. And I thought, okay, I didn't think one way or the other about it. I just thought, sure. So I sat there in this group of students, but at that time I didn't know your special word, future professional. And it's not a word that was used at Vidal Sassoon. They were cosmetology students, but they really were future professionals. And hindsight, everything kind of clicks together. And I sat there in the room, and I had never seen anyone like you. I felt that you were speaking to me as much as you were speaking to them, and it was so amazing. And that was the first time that I met you and the first time that I saw you. Little did I know that. I would get so emotional. Winn's the one that's supposed to get emotional. Little did I know how deep our relationship would become and how important, you would be in my life. I know so much of your story, and there's parts of it that I really want to share with our viewers today. And you did something kind of amazing. You took a business system, you took a business model that was, I don't know how old cosmetology was at the time that you melded two pieces together. And so take us back to that. You had a cosmetology school. You guys, Winn had a cosmetology school. He's not a cosmetologist. Tell me what that path looked like for you.
Yes, I'm in the hair business. Can you tell? Yeah, that's the good thing about the things that we choose to do in life. It's really not about the resume, because I've seen the resume of some pretty incredible, brilliant people. Doesn't necessarily mean that I would want to hire them, because more important than the resume is the passion, the desire behind that. And there are people that, again, they've got the training, the education, the degrees, the certification, but they're what we call a resistor, someone who brightens up a room by leaving. And I don't want to bring that type of a toxic person within my organization. And so, on the other hand, I've had people who have zero talent, zero education or experience, but what they do have is that strong desire and commitment. They're like, just give me the chance, give me the opportunity. And that's the person that I want to hire. And so, I just believe that relationships are very, very multi-layered. And so you may mention that maybe I brought within this industry, cosmetology education, a different level of what that needed to look like and feel like and be all about, because I don't believe that you can divide up your life. Like, people say, well, okay, over here is your career, over here are your relationships, over here is your spirituality, and you're supposed to keep all those areas separated and divided. And I was always like, so I'm supposed to leave my soul at home when I go to work? That never made sense to me. And what did make sense to me was, if we're going to be successful in business, if we're going to be a for-profit company or a nonprofit organization, why can't that also be about self-improvement and going deeper in our relationships with each other? And because sometimes we spend more time at work with those people than we do at home. And so it is all about relationships, and it's all about growth and feeling safe and feeling like you belong and feeling like you make a difference, that you have a purpose. And so bringing all of that to the workspace was always my focus.
Well, and for me, that was so different because I came from such a traditional, very bureaucratic background in management and strategic planning, and it was the conditioning that, you leave it at the door. You leave your personal life at the door and you go to work, and then when you go home, you leave your work life at the door and you go in and you be family. And you were the first person that brought that idea to me, that you are who you are wherever you go. And so you can't really separate those two things. And that really, really stuck with me. And I think that it helped to form what I went on to do, which is this work wellness idea, right? Of how we can be happy in all places with that idea of balance.
It's brilliant, because to bring wellness into the workplace, I mean, statistically, 50% of people who quit their jobs did so to get away from the boss, did so to get away from a toxic culture. And by the way, those who quit are not the worst employees, they are the best employees. The best employees know that they deserve better. The worst employees, they know that they're lucky to have a job. They stick around. They're part of the problem. We call them spoons, by the way. They stir things up. So when I had the opportunity to engage people, and that's what it's all about, to engage people. It's about a conversation. It's about a relationship. I have this joke. So this business owner is giving a tour of their business, of their facility. And the person asks, so how many people work here? And the business owner responded with, about half work here. And the reason why that can't happen in some businesses, in some stores, in some companies, is because people aren't engaged. I mean, maybe they're engaged with their time. They show up for one thing and one thing only, and that is to receive a paycheck. But they're not engaged with their hearts, with their creativity, with their passion, with teamwork, with sincere caring about other people. And when people aren't engaged, what do we want to do? We just want to fire them. But you can't fire your way into building a better team of people.
Right. It's that valuable training, right? It's that piece of, like, working through something with someone to get to the better place. And I've watched you do that over the years with people, and take chances on people, and retrain, and have a deeper conversation, and find out what's going on at home. One of the things that struck me, coming from the cosmetology beauty world, and coming to Winn's idea of what that looks like, was when you had these clubs, and I think the first thing that struck me was this quitters club about smoking. Now, you guys, smoking and hairdressing, they're just, I don't know that they were really separable at that time. And for you to come into that space and be that, you know, that leader in that space, you got some pushback.
Well, pushback's a very nice word. That's a very safe word. And you know, sometimes when you challenge people to make a drastic change in their lives, to improve themselves, whether that is to become a non-smoker, whether that means that they fix their marriage, they go to the gym. I mean, you make those kinds of recommendations. It's like, how dare you? You know, who do you think you are to tell me that I should not be a smoker? But at the end of the day, it's all about credibility. And we have to work on our credibility. It's that old adage that, you know, would you trust a hairdresser that didn't have any hair? Now, that doesn't really apply to me, but, you know, would you trust a dentist that didn't have any teeth? You know,
Right.
we have to have credibility in what it is that we do. And, you know, if it came to hairdressing, which I like to work in many, many other industries, if it came to hairdressing alone, which it is all about beauty and wellness and inside beauty, outside beauty, being a smoker just really doesn't fit what that looks like. And so, especially, I get to talk to a lot of leaders, a lot of managers, a lot of business owners, and I'm always talking to them about their own credibility. Because people say, well, Winn, how can I become a better leader? How can I make more money? And oftentimes the answer is quit smoking, volunteer for a cancer walk. Again, sign up for something that's going to make a difference in the lives of other people. Fix your marriage, call your mom. Those are the things that give you credibility, exactly, and make you a better leader, a better manager, and a better human being.
You said call your mom. I will say this. For the viewers that are watching, my leadership growth, Winn was a part of making me a better leader. He was my leader. He was my boss. I don't like to say boss because you don't feel like that when you're in his space. He was my coach. He was my guide. And you know, he didn't hesitate to redirect me, but I always knew it was for a better version of me. And one of the things that I love, what you just said, is call your mom. Because when I learned about your relationship with your mom, and I think I've told you this, that caused me to call my mom. That actually changed the relationship that I have with my mom. That was a pivotal point for me. And if you think that didn't make me a better leader at work or a better person at work, you're wrong, because it did. And this goes back to the space of, you know, and it's just kind of like all clicking together for me. You know, when I go in and I do mindful leadership coaching to C-level executives, we're not talking about the systems of the company necessarily. We're talking about how they show up. And initially, they don't see the connection until we start doing some of the exercises and having them try it on.
Well, you know, old school leadership is about dictating, controlling, policing people. That old school culture can sometimes feel toxic. It doesn't feel friendly. It doesn't feel inviting or engaging. And we all know that does not bring out the best in people. And so I knew, and it was because I had my own personal journey, my own struggle with happiness and a drug addiction and fixing a relationship with my father. It was because I had my own journey, my own story to tell, that when I then became transparent and started sharing those stories with other people, I hadn't mastered anything, right? I'm 19 years clean now off of drugs, but I was barely a year clean when I started sharing that with people. Sharing with people that, hey, I have this in my past and I'm struggling with this, and this is the journey that I'm on right now. And what that does is it gives people hope. So, you know, talking about a relationship with mom and dad, and why would that be so important? You know, why would I over and over again for years encourage people, fix your relationship with mom and dad? Because I don't believe that you can be a good mother. You're a brilliant mother, but you also have to be a brilliant daughter. Mm-hmm. Like you can't be a brilliant leader if you're not a good follower. you can't be a good teacher if you're not a good student. And so it goes both ways. And so that's why I would encourage people to do that and other things. You know, I think a lot about September 11th and the lessons that we learned that day. There were people on a plane or in the towers, and all of a sudden they knew that they had a small chance to make a phone call.
Right.
Now here's the deal. They didn't call their boss to say, how dare you not give me that raise?
Right.
They didn't call an enemy to fight it out one more time. They called a loved one with one message. Nothing else mattered. One message of, I love you. That's all that mattered. Nothing else mattered. But today, so many other things seem to be far more important to us than picking up the phone and calling mom and say, hey, mom, I love you.
Well, it made a difference in my life, and you know, I would encourage anybody out there that's listening to really hear that message. If that's the only piece that you get, or that the only piece that stays with you, really hear it. One of the things that, you know, I love that you do is everything. Like, you are everywhere and do everything. One of the things you did was you put some words down on paper and you wrote a book, which, you know, I'm always impressed when somebody can write a book, because it's not so easy. I mean, you write, it's not difficult to write, but to get to the point of actually getting everything into a book, you know, all hung together. And I have the book with me, and it's actually something that you guys can get on Amazon. Love the title. It's called Be Nice or Else. And I was, what is the or else? The or else frightens me, but.
No, the or else is, you know, be nice or be a horrible parent. Be nice or be miserable. Because we all know that, I mean, I think about mean, nasty people. Are they happy or unhappy? And the answer is they're unhappy. And so it's be nice or avoid happiness. Abandon being a good parent, being a good human being. And so that's what the or else is. I swear it's not any more threat than that.
Well, there's something you wrote on the back page, and you know me, I'm always going to have one foot in business. I tried to get out completely and burn sage and run around on the beach. It's not me. I like it. It's nice for a hot second. I tried to run away to an ashram, and you guys, Winn wouldn't let me. He made me come home. I called him from the top of a hill with red ants biting my feet, because it was the only place I could get cell service. And he said, do what you're doing, finish what you're doing, come home and we'll talk. So he didn't let me go down the rabbit hole. Thank you for that, by the way. But on the inside, the back sleeve of the book, it says, being nice and doing business do go together. So it is that thing of being nice and doing business do go together. And it's about the pieces of that, right? So there's a step in here that says, find people who want to play with you. And I think that directly connects to that being nice and doing business do go together, because it's about choosing that team in that environment. And you've created something really amazing with creating these teams. And they don't always go well, and not everybody stays.
No, you know, it's you put yourself out there in any facet of life. You put yourself out there as a leader, as a coach, as a parent, as a teacher, as a boss. That also makes you a target. And so one of our philosophies is SW, 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 which stands for some will, some won't, so what?
Right.
You put yourself out there. I heard it once said that people who have abandoned their dreams will try to steal yours. And so even though I put myself out there, I also protect myself, because, you know, I happen to be very energy sensitive. And, you know, I could have 1,000 people sitting in my seminar, and 999 of them are loving what I'm sharing. And then one is like, you know, I don't like what you're sharing. I disagree with everything that you're all about. This is boring. I want my money back. And of course, I'm a human being. My energy goes to that one person. And it's a discipline to not go there. That doesn't mean that I'm oblivious to what they say, but I need to protect myself. And so I do practice that philosophy. As much as I want to have a large circle of influence for good, I want to share my stories and be transparent and talk to people about a whole bunch of topics, including how to be a good parent, a good son, a good leader, a good philanthropist, how to make a difference, you know, a good neighbor, all of those things. So I want that large influence, but I'll tell you, my circle is very, very small. And I could spend days talking about why I am now moving in that direction from being a parent to being more visible and vulnerable out there, the importance of really protecting myself and my little family by having a very small circle.
There's one thing that you said to me, and the I want to let people know what the structure is here. So you guys know that Winn is the founder and co-owner of the Paul Mitchell Schools, and this is a huge network. I say we because you just never leave the school family. Once you've been in the Paul Mitchell School, you're family. How many schools were in Canada as well, or
No,
US?
not in Canada. We have about 110 schools, mostly here in the U.S. I mean, we do have a couple of international, like Taiwan and Russia, and a couple of other places, but primarily here in the U.S. We have about 15,000 students a year that come through our schools, and you know they think that they're signing up for cosmetology or barbering, and I'm like, haha, no. Here's what you're really here for. You know, we're here to create that safe environment for you. And for some of these students and team members as well that come into our organization, they say, this is the first time in my life that I feel like I finally fit in. I didn't fit into high school. I didn't fit into that college environment.
Right.
And some people say, I don't even feel like I belong at home. Like I don't even feel like I'm safe in my own home. But when I come here, this is the first time, this is where I finally feel safe. This is, in fact, can I tell you just a quick story about that? After being in the salon business for a couple of years, this woman who worked for me in those first couple of years, one day privately pulled me aside. And she said, Winn, I want you to know that for the last 20 years, I have been in a very abusive marriage. But because of working here for the last 2 years, I now have the courage to divorce this man.
Wow.
And I was like, huh? She's like, Winn, I've been in this horrible marriage, but for the last 2 years, when I come to work every single day, I feel safe. I feel loved. I feel like I matter, like I'm making a difference. And because of that, I now have the courage to divorce this horrible man. And that was a huge wake-up call for me, because up until that point, I thought that my only role, my only responsibility as a business leader or as a boss was to create a place where people come to earn a paycheck. And she taught me my responsibility that day was to create a place where, again, people feel, it's real simple. They have to feel safe.
Yeah.
They need to feel that they belong, and they need to feel that they have a purpose. Every company, every business, I don't care if it's a hair salon, a lawyer office, a pizza parlor, we all have that same mission. People need to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
They need to feel that they belong, and they need to feel that they have a purpose.
And I'll say that from experience, I know that you create that environment, but that's not just something that happens overnight. I mean, you're talking about 110 schools. You have these amazing events that pull all your team together at all the different levels, so that they can hone that skill, so they can get that message so deeply into their bodies that it's natural for them. And I remember you saying that, and at the time, and I don't know if it's the same, but you were like, I'm responsible for 6 people. Because I'm like, how the heck does Winn run this organization? It's enormous. You said, I'm responsible for 6 people. I pour everything I have into those 6 people, because then they're responsible for however many people. And then they're responsible, and really just giving them the autonomy to pour in and do, like these, and you call these summits, right? The Paul Mitchell, the school summits. And you know, it's not just a conference. It feels like a motivational seminar. You go in and you leave with your cup just overflowing, so that you can give back. Is that when you decided to write the book? Was when you were doing the summits, or did the book come before the summits?
No, the book came before, but to which I want to talk about. But these summits, these gatherings, I feel like it needs to start at the top. And so if I am at the top, and I don't mean that I have more power, what I mean is in terms of communication, that organizational chart, and every company, every business has one or should have one, because it's not about who has more power than somebody else. It's all about this is how we communicate. Okay. And so you mentioned that I communicate with those 6 people, and those 6 people, then it trickles down. But in terms of setting that culture, and now culture happens when 2 people come together. So when 2 people come together, there is a culture. And you have to decide what that culture looks like or feels like, or it will be decided for you. And oftentimes, the culture that can be decided for you by default is a culture that's toxic. It's you walk into a restaurant and you're like, oh my gosh, it just doesn't feel good in here. They could have marble floors, beautiful decor, the best location, but it just doesn't feel right. Right. And I truly believe that that comes from the top. And so it needs to start with me, which is, again, why I became drug free. That's why I'm, a monogamous husband. That's why I call my mom every single day. That's why I'm a philanthropist. That's why I go to the gym every single day. I'm 62. I got to go to the gym every day. So once it starts with me, and then I share all of those principles with the people that I have direct communication with, that influence with, then it starts to trickle down. Because if the end user, so to speak, the customer in my company are those students, those future professionals,
Right.
right? Well, again, if I'm a drug addict, if my marriage is falling apart, is that going to have some type of an impact on my future professionals, on my customers? Absolutely, it will. Um, and we flip that org chart upside down, because the person who has the most influence on whether or not my customer, that student, is happy are the learning leaders. And so it can't be a company that's all about me. And a lot of companies, it's all about the boss, that hierarchy of who has the power and who has the control. And to me, that just doesn't work. I think now you also asked me about my book.
Yeah, when did that, as far as
too,
like
or-
the timeline, like what was your inspiration for that and how did that come about?
The book came about right after I became clean off of drugs. And it didn't start off as a book. It started off as a journal. I needed to journal. I needed to write down my thoughts, because if I looked at my life, and I do look at my life as a before and after. So before getting clean was one life, and then after there's that benchmark. Before becoming a dad, what was my life like? What was my routine, my schedule? Now that I'm a dad, there's an afterlife of how it's different. So after I got clean, it was really important that I journal and write down who I am, what I stand for. Okay, that's the life that I used to have. I'm not that person anymore. Well, then who am I?
Right.
What do I believe in? What do I stand for? What's my vision? What are my goals? What's my mission? What's my vision? And so it was important for me to write that down. And in the process of writing that down, I would then share some of those stories with or sections with some friends and some other people. And hey, Winn, this is this sounds good, but I don't really know what you mean by that. Could you expand on that a little bit more? Hey, Winn, all you're doing is quoting principles. You need to put a story in there. Why are you sharing that principle with me? There was a story behind that, Winn. What's the story?
Right.
How did you fall down? How did you step back up or get back up and tell us the story? Don't just tell us the principle. Be vulnerable, be transparent, and tell us the story. Write down the story. So it was in the process of all of that, of writing and journaling and then sharing, that some people came along and said, you know what, maybe this needs to be a book. And then Larry King called me and said, I hear you're writing a book. People called me the Larry King of the beauty industry, because I've had this podcast, and Larry's like, come to my house. I'm going to teach you how to become Larry King. Oh, and by the way, can I write the foreword for your book?
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, writing a book, starting this company, having it grow so quickly, there are people along the way, and this is one of the pieces I think that we get very hung up on is how do you deal with those and getting clean, right? So there's toxic people. there are people that don't fit into the new picture or your new plan. How would you talk to our viewers about that journey? I almost think we can't ever hear it enough because it's one of these reminders, because we always come across those people.
You know, people think that, okay, so he wrote a book on be nice. So people think that being nice means that you become a doormat. It means that you cannot fire people. No, you can fire someone and be nice about it. You can break up with somebody and still be nice about it. Being nice does not mean that you have to wear pastel colors and talk in a really soft voice. I'd be screwed. So it's like I remember one of my mentors, Marianne Williamson, talking about, you know, breaking up with somebody. Just because you don't physically want to be with that person anymore doesn't mean that you completely abandon them. Because sometimes when you break up with somebody, that's when they need you the most.
Right.
That's when they're now processing and going through that loss. And now you're going to abandon them completely. You know, just because you physically want to change the dynamic of your relationship doesn't mean that you abandon people. And I learned the same thing about terminating people from my company. Maybe you don't fit into our culture and our company. Maybe you don't have the qualifications, your performance isn't up to par, but that doesn't mean that you're a bad person. I don't need to demonize somebody simply because I think that they need to move on. And in fact, we call it nexting people. Oh, you don't want to play with us? Next.
Right.
So sometimes you have to next people. You have to break up with people. You have to change the dynamic of your circle of friends, right? Some will, some won't. So what? And it's necessary to make those changes. It's necessary to make those changes in your circle of friends. You know, when I became clean, you better believe there were people in my life that I needed to divorce myself from. You know, that didn't make them bad people. That didn't mean that I'm now judging them. That didn't now make me like I'm a better person because I'm clean and you're not. What it meant was I love myself enough to stay away from you. I love myself enough. I need to protect this company. I need to protect this culture. I need to protect my daughter. I need to protect my circle of influence. I need to protect myself, right? Because I'm a vulnerable human being. And so I love myself enough to put some distance between me and you. And we do that in business. We do that in our relationships. We do that in our circle of friends. It's difficult. That's painful to do that. But I feel like it's a very, very necessary thing that needs to happen.
I completely agree with you, and it's one of these things that it's like that listening to your gut, and you know when you're when you're spending too much time with somebody, that you know you're not supposed to be there. Like you know that, so
Right.
it's not that they have to be completely removed, but you know maybe it's more of a phone call friendship, or maybe it's more of a, you know, along the way, and it doesn't make them good or bad. I love that you said that. You mentioned, you know, about being a dad and protecting your daughter and your family and your family unit. And I want to say that I've been through 2 divorces. Winn's been there with me through both of my divorces in a very deep and intimate way to, you know, help me through that as a friend and a mentor. So I have so much respect and know the work that it takes to stay in, you know, because you never know what people are going through. You know, you
Right.
see couples together and you're like, oh, I want a relationship like that. Well, it's not always like that, you know, and it's admirable that 2 people actually come together and decide, you know, that they're gonna dig in and make it work. And not only that, but then, you know, going to take the commitment of having a family. And I knew you before you were a dad, and I thought you were amazing. I knew you after you were a dad, and really saw even a different, you know, Winn kind of emerge. And how does being a dad, how does that change? How did that change you?
Well, again, prior to being a dad, I averaged about 250 days a year on the road as a speaker. If I slept in my own bed 5 days a month, that was a lot. But I was this road warrior. It was easy for me. I could jump on a plane and with no notice. I'm packed and ready to go. At any given moment, I have this philosophy of just say yes. Somebody says, Winn, I want to interview you for my podcast. I have 3 followers. I'm going to say yes. Of course, I don't care. I'm going to say
Right.
yes. And so I've always been in that mode of saying yes and being a part of whatever I could be a part of. Well, then I became a dad. Well, I didn't become a dad. So prior to being a dad on the road, nobody suffered in my absence. I didn't have any plants that I had to water. There was no fish, that died because I was gone too long. And so it was fine for me to have that life. When I became a dad, I completely reorganized my life. And that was difficult for me to start saying no. I heard one of my mentors the other day said that she finally gave herself the gift of being able to say no. Because she's a grandma now. She wants balance in her life. She wants her children are grown and she wants to enjoy her husband and things like that. And so, but of course, what got her to where she is today in terms of being loved and well known and financially successful was in saying yes, 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 yes. To give yourself the gift of being able to say no that's hard. That was
Yeah.
so hard. But I had this beautiful little girl that I said yes to. And so, gosh, do I say yes to the thousands of people who want to pay me to come onto a stage and jump on a plane, which now means I'm gone from her for 4 days? Is that what I want to continue saying yes to? No, it's not what I wanted. And so, I committed myself to what it meant to be a dad, which forced me to stay home. So I've been a room parent at her school. So pre-K,
Can you imagine Winn
kindergarten,
showing up as
first
a
grade,
room
second
parent?
grade. Yes. And I've already applied to be a room parent next year. I'm hoping that they choose me. And if they don't, I know where they live. But, get this. Out of all the room parents at my daughter's school, I'm the only dad. It's me and a bunch of moms, which, by the way, it makes me want to start drinking again. I have to tell you. But you know what? But that's what I signed up for. And so my behavior needs to match that. If what I value is being a good dad, if what I value is my daughter, and you better believe that's what I value, well, then my behavior needs to back that up. And the behavior of, I want to be a dad, but by the way, I'm jumping on a plane. Bye, see ya, good luck. I'm going to miss everything. My behavior needed to back up what I committed to and what I value of being a good dad. So of course, I'm sorry, I can't come to that event because I'm a room dad and I'm in charge of the water balloon toss at the carnival. So sorry, I can't be there.
Well, I bet you all those moms that are the room moms with you, I bet you all their hair looks really good.
It's really kind of funny because, because we have a Paul Mitchell school close by, and that school, which you were the director of for many years. That school has incredible talent with doing hair, with doing makeup, with doing a skin. And it's literally, that school is like 2 miles away from my daughter's school. And so, of course, all of her teachers, they all get their hair done at my daughter's schools. And the other parents are like, are you trying to bribe the teachers? I'm like, yes.
Yes,
of course I am. Why wouldn't I do that?
What's the funnest thing that you guys get to do together, you and your daughter?
You know what? We kind of divide our experiences with our daughter, right? So my time with her is in the morning. So again, I pull her out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I just love that time alone. Now, again, to be able to be there fully present, ready to go at 6 a.m., I'm up at 4 a.m. Because if I'm trying to wake up while she's also trying to wake up, that's just not a good experience. And, sometimes she wakes up really excited for the day, and sometimes she doesn't want to get out of bed. Well, it's my job. My parents taught me this, to jump out of bed every single day, excited for the day. It doesn't matter what happened the night before or the day before. It doesn't matter what my energy level is. Doesn't matter any of those things. To jump out of bed and say, yes, this is going to be an incredible day. Well, it's my job to teach that to my daughter. And so I love that time with her at 6 a.m. And so before she gets up, of course, there's music playing. I've already had coffee. The dogs are taken care of. There's candles lit around the house because I just love that ambiance that candles create. And so she gets pulled out of bed, and that's what she immediately is exposed to. And then it's just that funny time that we have with her. Sometimes there's a yoga mat on the floor next to where she's having breakfast, and we're down there doing a little exercises, or sometimes it's a little bit of review of homework, whatever it is. But it's time with her. And that's just, I love, love, love those little rituals that we have.
So, are you making breakfast for her?
Every morning,
Yeah?
every single morning. Yeah. Oh yeah. We are the first person that she sees in the morning, and we're the last person that she sees every single night. I just I want to be present. You know,
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
that makes me emotional. To
Yeah.
not be present breaks my heart, because you hear those stories about, oh yeah, I haven't seen my child in 5 years. Yeah, I'm really not a part of my kid's life.
Right.
That to me is heartbreaking. How can you not want to be a part of your kid's life every single day? Doesn't matter how old they are. And I just want to be a part of everything that she's all about. Which, by the way, is not that I've mastered this, because I certainly have not. But that's one of the things that she's taught me as a dad, is to be present.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to not be present. Mainly because of this thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
just so easy to stare at this device. And she has said it to me a couple of times, and it's like a knife to the heart each time. Daddy, you think that your cell phone is more important than me. Oh my gosh.
Right. You want to take it and just
That's
throw it
just,
out the window at that point.
oh gosh, it's like, oh my, sweetheart, you're so right. And I have to have the discipline of, I have that report that gets
The screen
texted to me
time.
every single day of my screen time. Yeah,
Yeah.
to remind myself, because no, my intention, what I value, is being a good dad, and being a good dad means that I'm present, because what do little kids need, especially when they're young adolescents, just young toddlers. They need validation, and how they receive that validation is eye contact.
Right.
Sweetheart, you're beautiful, you're amazing, you're incredible, right? But if I'm staring at this device all the time, what does she miss out on? What do I miss
Right.
out on as being a dad? So the best thing I've learned, which by the way serves me in business, because sorry, if you're at work all the time staring at your device,
Yep.
right? A customer's sitting there and you're looking at your device. A team member is sitting there and you're staring at your device. And I've done that with bosses all the time. Winn, where am I lacking? Well, you're on your phone all the time. You want to be a good boss, be present with your employee. Leave your cell phone in
Mm-hmm.
the car, so that they feel, wow, the boss truly, truly cares about me.
I remember you actually told me to get out of my office. You, that was that was one thing to make me a better leader. And
I tell a lot of people, you don't need to have an office
I
at
think you
your
told me I
store,
didn't
at your
really need one.
business. You don't need one, to be out and about. And then people say, well, when I'm in my office, if there's a problem, they can come and see me. Oh, so the only time that you engage with your people is when there's a problem. So
Yeah.
there are wonderful, incredible things happening out there between them and other team members, between them and your customers, but you're not a part of that experience with them.
Right.
They only see you if you're policing them. Aha, I caught you. You're late
Right.
today and I caught you. Or if there's a problem, they can come and see me. That's not a good relationship.
Right. Right. When I actually have this story about Sophia, um,
Okay.
your daughter, when I was the director at Costa Mesa, and you came in one day, and I think you came in to speak. Stephen Boots is saying, "Hey, Winn, how are you?" And Trey is saying, "Hello, welcome, Trey. Thanks for joining in."
Thanks, you guys.
I was in the office, and she came in and she sat next to me, and we were having a conversation, and she was wearing a bracelet, and it was a beautiful little thin bracelet, and she was giving it to me, and I said, "Oh, well, you better ask," and George was there. I said, "I think you should ask first." I didn't know if she was, kids are so giving and loving. I'm like, is she giving like something away that's really important? And George says, "Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You can give it to her." And I said, "Oh, I'll share this with Mimi. Mimi will love it." And Sophia put her hand on my hand and she said, "No, this is for you." Now, Mimi's my daughter, for you guys that are watching. And you would think that one little girl would want the other little girl to share in that. And she was like, "No, I'm giving this to you." Like, she wanted to make it a point that I was her full focus, I was her full intention, and I still have it. I still have this little purple string And I still have that. And I'll always remember that. And I know that our kids absorb, they're like sponges and they absorb what they see. And so that's a testament to you and what you guys are creating there. So
Thank you.
That's my favorite story.
Thank you.
About Sophia. Absolutely. And I love hearing, when people give me feedback about, Mimi, it's like, okay, I'm on the right track. I'm on the right track, and it feels good.
We need a lot of validation
Yeah.
as parents, because when you're in the thick of it, so to speak, every single day, you question yourself. Gosh,
Yes.
am I doing a good job? And so when you get to see your kids out there without you hovering over them, and you get to see, the teacher says, hey, a little kid was being picked on today, and just as I was getting up to handle it,
Right.
I just sat back down because Sophia was already on it. She had already jumped up and came in and say, hey, come on, you guys, you can include them. You need to be nice. So it's nice to hear that validation. And we need that. We need to know, gosh, we're doing a good job. This is so hard. Like marriage is so
Right.
hard.
It is. It's that.
Right.
It is. It's very much, I think that relationship is very much, it's so close. You're so close, and you're so close to screwing it up all the time, and you're so close to getting it right all the time. It's just, it requires your intention and attention. And I love that's at the top of your list. Because when you introduce yourself, I love that you introduce yourself that you're a dad. Like you're like, I'm a dad first. Like that's my, out the gate, that's who I am.
Well, it does speak to people. And, of course I use it to my advantage too, when I have to, get out of a room and head out to jump on a plane, so I don't miss my plane, or, to be able to depart from a room of 1,000 people after an event. If I say to them, hey, you guys, I really got to leave because I want to get home in time to put my daughter to bed, they're like, oh, then they're pushing me out the door. So
no one's going to
use it to when it works.
Nobody's
going
to
to
stop
say no
you.
to that.
No one's going to stop you on that for sure. And then, and then they get older, and, my daughter's going to be 14 in a month.
Wow.
I know,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
Yeah. And then, it shifts and changes and moves, but it's the attention that we give them, and the intention that, and I think Sophia loves horses, right?
She loves horses. She's been riding since she was 3.
Yep. And so Me's jumping now, and
Wow.
she's competing in Del Mar and next month, or this month actually. And so I know like the time and the energy and the effort and the attention really matters, to support them in whatever they love. And I really think that, you've modeled that process. You've modeled that
Thank you.
process really, really
Can
well.
I say something about that though? Just
Yeah.
to share, as a parent, we had made the decision even before she was born that we were not going to overschedule our daughter. And I've had mentors along the way, parent mentors, who have said, you know what, you need to, if every single moment of their day is scheduled with something, between horse riding and piano lessons and this activity and that activity, where's the room for boredom and creativity? They said you need to make sure that there's at least an hour or two where nothing's scheduled, because even in that space of, Dad, I'm bored, what they have to do is they have to use their imagination. They have to create something. And I love that. I love, she'll go into my office and close the door, and 2 hours later she comes out with who knows what, a bird fundraising event that, made out of this box, and it's got notes and stickers, and that took her 2 hours. I love it. She did this campaign to raise money for Best Friends Animal Society, where I told her she would get $1 for every signature that she got, because she created this sign-up sheet. One column was help animals, and then the other column was don't help animals. Like, which one are you going to sign, right? So
right to the point.
Cute girl, exactly, running around on the streets, and people, well, what's this all about? And I would stand back and watch her. I just wanted to not hover too close and hear her pitches. She would stop total strangers. Hi, sign my petition. Well, what's it all about? Well, Best Friends Animal Society. She would go on and on about her speech, and then, okay, do you want to sign to support animals or sign over here and don't support animals? And of course, who would sign that? So every signature, I said I give you $1, which, by the way, by the time she got to like 200 signatures, I had to change that plan, and she ended up raising like $15,000, not because of 15,000 signatures. We just came up with better ways. But what's the point of the story? The point of the story is, just
she's following in your
all
footsteps.
Came about. Well, but it also, she created this. Why? Because she wasn't overscheduled.
Right.
She, out of her boredom, so to speak,
right.
she came up with something. Her little imagination said, you know what, I can do something rather than another karate lesson or a piano lesson. Or I'm not saying that is bad, that kids are enrolled in all of that. It was just a choice that as parents, we made that choice. That plus I'm an older dad, and so I don't have the energy to follow them around and playing carpool all the time.
Well, I'm definitely going to be signing up for Sophia's leadership class when she's giving it. Okay, I will be her first sign up. And speaking of leadership, and this is really the core of what I love, and just human beings are such an important part of leadership and have been left behind in all these systems and processes until people like you come along and be like this, how do we build up the people to build up the systems, to build up the organizations, to do better, and to be able to raise something like $21 million, for other charities, which is what you've done. How are you using your podcast? Because you had a master's series before the podcast. So how did you make that switch over? Did you just because the medium kind of switched over?
The medium switched over, so when I started this, it was 21 years ago. So long before there was even the term podcast, I was sitting down to interview people because first of all, I'm not a big reader. I wrote a book, but I don't read. There you go.
That's okay.
And how I've always gained my knowledge and my experience from my mentors is to talk to them, to ask questions, or to listen to them, to listen to their seminars. I'm very much into listening. Of course, back then it was motivational 8-track tapes, right? So when I released my interviews, my podcast, it was released on a cassette tape, and I had subscribers in 10 countries. Every single month, I would mail a cassette tape of that interview. And the first person that I interviewed was Vidal Sassoon, because I thought,
wow,
gosh, if Vidal Sassoon says, because I thought if he says yes to me, who's gonna tell me no?
Right.
And since then, I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people, including like the president of Southwest Airlines and a Catholic nun who became a hairdresser so that she could do hair for the homeless. I've interviewed Fran Drescher and Gary Sinise about his incredible foundation that supports veterans and first responders. And so all kinds of different people with wonderful stories. They don't have to be famous for me to want to interview them, as long as they have a story to tell that's gonna help other people. And so as times have changed and evolved, it went from a subscription base to a free podcast, but I'm still doing it every single month. Every single month I'm releasing.
How do we find you? If we
to go to my website, winnclaybaugh.com. And you'll find it's it's called Masters Podcast, and so it's all there. It's all for free. So I know your good friend Eden Sassoon. She's been a part of that before, and so I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud to be able to. First of all, I do it for selfish reasons. I do it because I know what I'm capable of in a negative way. I know that if I allow myself to get off track, I know how low I can go. So I don't get off track. I can't get off track. And one of the ways that I stay on track is by having those kinds of conversations, like what you and I are doing right now. Ask me how many times I've watched The Real Housewives.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Ask me how many times I've watched Friday the 13th or any kind of violent movie. I don't watch that stuff. I can't. But I'm a huge subscriber to this other stuff that we're talking about. So, to be able to sit down and share those stories with other people, that's how I learn, that's how I grow. And I think the world that we live in today, so much is available for us, both the good and the not so good. And we all have to make that choice, make that decision of where you're going to put your time and energy. We all believe in the law of attraction, that what you put energy into is going to come back to you. So if you
Right.
put energy into a Jerry Springer type presentation, a Real Housewife presentation, well, then that's what you're going to get back.
Right.
You're going to get back drama. You're going to get back bad relationships. You're going to get back, um, all of those things that are unsupportive when it comes to being a good dad, a good spouse, a good human being. And so I just have to divorce myself from that. I can't engage in that stuff.
I heard, I love that you said we're energy, and I heard something today, that people don't see you, they feel you.
Uh,
Right? That I thought that was, I don't even know. I was driving, I was listening to I think you and I are always listening to, whatever's going to make us better or open our minds or, a different idea. And I really love that, people don't see you, they feel you. And I think that, when you fill your bucket with some of that other stuff, that's what you start projecting out. Another one of the lessons, I think that was one of the first things I heard you say, was, kind of this, when I talk about, what we consume and, Ayurvedically, and I think, what we can consume these balanced meals and everything, but we also consume through our eyes and our ears and our nose and, all these other things. So, I, I absolutely, absolutely love that. What,
yeah, and a mentor did that for me years ago, and I do that for other people. I sit them down and have them make a list. How many hours a week do you spend watching the news? How many hours a week do you spend on social media? How many hours a week do you spend watching negative violence? How many hours a week do you spend watching trashy talk shows and reality shows? Right? Add up all those hours. And for some people, it's 1 hour a week. For some people, literally, it's 20, 30 hours a week.
and it's
Right? And then
programming.
times that by 10. Times it by 10, because I heard it said that for every hour you spend in that negative garbage programming, it will take you 10 positive hours to undo the ill effects of that one
Wow.
hour. So
Wow.
if it's 10 hours a week of that negativity times 10, that's 100 hours. Do any of us have 100 hours available to us to watch positive information and listen to great podcasts to undo the ill effects of that 1 hour? No, we don't have that time. So the
Right.
best solution is don't go there. Just don't go there. I never go there.
And it's knowing how to stack the deck in your favor and making those choices. And the choices really, they're ours. They don't lie outside of us. It's nobody else's choice. It's really our
Yeah.
choice and our responsibility. Like you said, for you to protect your family, your vibration, your daughter, all that, is your choice and your decision. And I absolutely love that. So what's next for Winn? What's next on the horizon for Winn? I mean, we've just come out of a real interesting time. And what does it look like for you, for the schools, for the podcast, and I know you do so much outside of the Paul Mitchell schools as well.
Thank you. What's next for me is, I feel like the past 15 months with the pandemic and the quarantine and the social unrest, what's next for me is that I need to become a better person. Yeah, I do a lot, but I can do so much more. And I truly humbly believe that, because I feel like the the pandemic was like God sent everybody to their room. The whole planet, everybody go to your room, take a time out, take a break, take a breather. And when you come out, you better have a better way. You better have a solution to all of this mess, this madness. And so,
Right.
For some people, the quarantine ended their marriages. It did negative things, and but for others, it was like, okay, do we really want this marriage? I know that for me, this was something my spouse and I were like, yeah, we want this. We really want this. It's hard. It's so hard, but
Yeah.
we want to be there for our daughter. We want romance. We want kindness. We're coming up on 19 years, and so it was a chance for us to reinvent
Congratulations.
ourselves as thank you. But in other areas, When it comes to social unrest, I took that white bias test.
Mm,
Okay, I'm a white man. I
right.
grew up in a white neighborhood, in a white school with a white family. So, of course, I'm going to have some white biases. That
Yes,
doesn't make me a bad person.
that's
It
right.
just means that that's what I knew. And so, for me to take that test gave me some insight as to what I need to work on. And so, it was a time for me to be a really good student. It was time for me to look at my circle of influence and to bring in, I have some black friends that I had never asked them the question, what is it like to be a black man in America? I had no idea that I had female black women who told me, this one in particular, beautiful with privilege, but she's black, with a black little girl sitting in the back seat,
Mm,
scared to death because a cop car was pulling them over. They
right.
hadn't done anything wrong. They were driving a beautiful car, but that never occurred to me. That never occurred to me. I can't imagine sending Sophia out without my presence, without me being with her, thinking, is she safe?
Right.
Is something going to happen to my daughter simply because of the color of her skin? None of that occurred to me. And so this has been a year for me to reevaluate and to, wow, I got work to do. And that was a really, really good thing. And I just want to stay on that path. I just want to stay on that journey of bringing that information, that influence, and then being a part of the solution. And so I'm on a couple of committees and I've been involved in changing policies and HR things, and launching a scholarship program for children who, because of mass incarcerations, and so all kinds of things that I can get involved in. But it was an awareness thing, and so everybody wants to demonize the year 2020. Oh my gosh, the worst year ever. So glad it's over. And I'm like, no way. I'm not, because if we demonize the year 2020, we're going to miss out on all the great lessons, the great things that came out of that experience. And for me, what came out of that was that I still have a lot of work I got to do.
This is one of the reasons that you are such a great mentor for people, is just the fact that you're willing to look at yourself, to be better. There are people that would never have even taken that test. They wouldn't want to open that door. They wouldn't want to know. But we all have unconscious bias, and all of us. And it doesn't matter the color of our skin, or we all have it. But it's the ability, or the want, or the willingness to look at it and say, okay, how could I look at this differently? What do I need to know about that? And that really, that just reminds me that you're the guy to follow. You're the guy. You're setting the pace for a lot of people, and you do for me, and you have, in a lot of my life. And now I'm gonna get all a little, not all, but maybe a little emotional. But you have in my life, and when I asked you to come on today, it meant a lot to me, because this is new for me. And, I think you and I are doing the same thing, just in different ways. And I just appreciate you, and I love you, and you are such a powerhouse. And I'm so proud to call you friend, mentor, whatever else goes into that category. But I just want to thank you so much, Winn, for being here today and sharing your wisdom with us on this Amazon Live platform, which, sometimes, it feels like we know exactly what we're doing, and other times it's just exciting and different. And today, I think we really brought some meaningful information to people. I see Stephen Boots in the chat is saying we need more positivity, and absolutely, Stephen, it is. You become one of us when you start to put that positivity out there and protect us.
Can I say something though about you though?
Sure.
You haven't mastered any of this, but that doesn't stop you. The fact that you are so transparent with your stories and what you have been through in life and what you still struggle with, that gives people hope, because people look at you and, gosh, she looks like she's doing okay. Maybe there's hope for me. And a lot of people, they don't want to share that. They just want to share their accolades and their awards, right, and their wealth and their stories, but they don't want to share the other side. And it's the other side, I truly believe, that gives us a connection with people. And that's when we can truly make a difference. And and help people make those adjustments. And so, you know, Michelle, you're a more than you ever know. You're a hero for a lot of people, especially for a lot of women. And my best teachers and mentors have been women. And so if I can back that up by saying yes to you for whatever I can do, of course, that's where I'm going to show up.
Thank you, Winn. I love you beyond, beyond, beyond. You guys, we are going to say goodbye to Winn. Stephen, yes, we do, hon. Stephen Boots, I think you're my biggest fan. We're going to say goodbye to Winn, but thank you so much for joining us, Winn, and I will be in touch with you and just bless you and thank you. I appreciate you
Thank
so
you.
much.
I love you, sweetheart.
I love you
Thanks.
too. All right. Thanks, Winn.